All right, we are live, a little early, so I'll just type in welcome to today's live stream. All right, we have 5 already. So I am all set up and I'll show you 11 o'clock my time. I'm using my colors from my palette here, and then I'm using one extra color that I don't have in that, and that is New Gamboge. The tracing is on my website. If you didn't already find it, here it is. You can print it out from my website. If you go to Eva's Tips and Tricks on my website, that's called beautyonlocation.com. Hi Tish and Jennifer, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We have it all lined up. I'm going to open it now. And hopefully, sorry, it's a little wibbly while I adjust. All right. Let's see, like that. And I'm thinking I'm going to try and see if I can get a little bit closer. There. So you can see my palette. You can see I have my little extra palette here with the New Gamboge. And the colors I'm going to be using today. Hi, Esther and Carol. Hello. And Sharon, hey. So I don't have my regular setup, so my son-in-law helped me get a setup here in the downstairs family room in a corner. And I have to use my Logitech camera, which is not the best. It's not as good as what I have at home, and the lighting is not quite as good. But hey, hey Lisa, good morning. So we'll just have to make do, and I hope you can see well enough. And I don't know about the lighting. Is it too bright? Possibly. I'm going to try and take it down a notch and see if that's better. It doesn't make any difference, does it? Hopefully once I start painting, it'll be better. Anyway, let's go over the colors. I have already put them out, so don't take up your time with just mixing colors in the palette. I'm going to use my transparent yellow, and I did a couple of puddles here. I did a puddle in here with the main colors for the painting, which will be oranges. So that will be mixtures of yellows and the red. So I have transparent yellow, 2 puddles out there, have a puddle here. And then I have my Quinacridone red, but any kind of a red you have, a warmer red is better, meaning that's more like a bright red, like fire engine red, pyrrole red or something like that would work really well. So not so much a pink. So that's my quinacridone red, and I have an extra puddle out here. And then I have that other yellow, which is New Gamboge. It's a much warmer yellow than the transparent yellow. And then I have a green gold here, which is a very yellow green. I don't usually have green on my palettes, but I happen to have it on this palette here. And so I'm going to use it as a base for my greens. And then I have cobalt blue. I have French ultramarine blue, and I have another French ultramarine blue here. And then here I have a little bit of permanent magenta because there is a couple of purples in this flower also. And then out here I have amber blue. Prussian blue is identical almost. And otherwise also phthalo blue would work really well. So those are the colors. And then one extra color here, which is just the burnt sienna for those places where we have a little bit of brown. So let's get started. I have my brushes here. I just have an array of brushes. I have my dagger brush. I have a small dagger brush. I have a number 8, a number 6, and a number 2 round brush. And then I have this one out of my travel kit, which is also a round pointy brush that'll hold a lot of water. And what you just use whatever you have. You know, I always tell you it doesn't matter what brushes or what colors I'm using. It depends on, you know, it matters what I do with them. So same applies here. So I also have, of course, my 2 containers of water because, you know, I'm like a neat painter in the same sense that I like to keep my colors and my palettes clean. Now, once we start painting, of course, they're going to be, you know, mixed and mingled, and we're going to get mud eventually, and, you know, all that is fine. But I like to start out with a clean palette and clean water. So let's start with the greens. Let's start with something easy. Let's start with the stem down here. Let's see if we can, I don't know if you can see it, but I can show you on the drawing here. We're going to start here. This part, that's the green part. And then we'll do one of the orange petals, probably this one here, and then we'll work our way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the clean water inside the lines so I don't go all the way out to the lines here on my stem. And I'm going to put a little bit of that green gold in, or you could put yellow in. This is just, and now I will go all the way out to the lines and put a little bit down here. And I'm not even going to bother rinsing out. I'm going to go in and get a little bit of my French ultramarine blue on. And I'm going to put that in here on the right side of the stem. And a little bit. And because everything's still wet, it's going to mix and mingle. And now I'll put it over because this is really not that bright green. And I'm going to go in and put a little bit of cobalt blue in to blue up this green a little bit without making it too dark. There. So that you get a little bit of a highlight on here. There's that. And then I'm going to rinse out my brush. And then I'm going to go in with my small little number 2 brush. It's a detail brush. And I'm just going to dip the tip into some of this burnt sienna I have here. Just roll it in there. And then before things dry on me, I'm going to just dab a little bit of that burnt sienna in here on the edge because that's what I see in my reference photo. I have put that reference photo up on both YouTube and also on my Instagram account, so you can find it there if you haven't seen it. And also in that newsletter I sent out, or newsletter, that little, blur I sent out yesterday saying that I was going to do this live stream. So how's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe and sane. I hope you take advantage of this time that we have been forced into, being by our lonesome selves, and that, lots of opportunities to paint and be creative. Might as well, take advantage of it. So the next one I think I want to paint is this one here. Here, I have a big drawing here so you can see. So we just painted this part, and now we're going to paint this part. That's orange. So this part here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to wet that area, and I don't go all the way out to the lines. There we go. Hi, Sylvia. So good to see you here. I hope you're having a good day. Good morning. Everybody hopefully had their morning coffee or tea, whatever you drink in the morning. So I wet this petal. No, I don't know how well it shows up. I hope it shows up well enough for you to see. And then I'm going to mix myself from these three puddles. This is my red. This is my transparent yellow. And then I want to have a little bit of, ooh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. This color here. Yes. And then I'm going to flip it around so it's easier for me to get to the area I want to paint. And I'm going to put that in like so. And you can see I get a nice hard edge where it hits the dry paper, and then it kind of flows out where it hits the water I put in. And I rinsed out my brush a little bit, and now I'm dipping into the warmer yellow, which is my new Gamboge, just to get it a little bit lighter here on the top side of this petal, I guess it is. This is from a photo I took when I was in Africa. I was in a safari in Africa. Man, am I glad that I did that before this whole thing. And I got home again, safe and sound. There. So see how nice you get a soft edge. And then we can go in and put a little bit more shapes on it as we go. And there's just one thing I think I want to do right here. Maybe with, clean my brush out, and I took the water out, and I might just lift out a little bit of a highlight right there. Rinse out my brush again. All right. So far, so good. Then let's paint this one here. Or maybe actually, let's paint this one. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this. This would be our next one. This. So we just painted in this one. Now we're going to paint in this one. Why are we not painting this one? Well, we're not painting this one because this one's still wet. And you don't want to paint two areas next to each other before, the areas are dry. Otherwise, they flow together, and I don't really want that. All right, so we're going to paint this one here. Like this. Little water inside. And again, I always leave a little space to the pencil lines. There we have it. And then we'll go in here and get a nice orange again. And I like to have it like this instead of mixing one big puddle of orange. This way I can vary it all the time to be more yellow orange, more red orange, whatever I need. So I'm seeing this one more like that. And a little bit warmer down here maybe. And let's go in, just get that nice color in here. And it goes kind of like that. And there's kind of some funny stuff going on down there. We'll deal with that later. And then here, I dipped into a little bit more of the transparent yellow. Of course, the outside of these petals, this petal is kind of backlit. So it's, you know, I want to kind of get that feeling of it's being trans. There. Look how pretty. We don't need to do a lot to it. Like that. And let's see, we can also paint this one here. And so I'm talking about this one here because it doesn't touch any of the ones I've painted. And there we have all that purpley stuff going on next to it. So purple and yellow are complementary colors. And orange and blue are complementary colors. So, you know, we have some bluish purples going on. So that's going to be really, really pretty. And really set off that orange. So let's do the same thing. Some clean water. And then I've noticed down at the bottom here, it's almost like a whitish color. It's like, you know, when you dig something out of the ground and, you know, hasn't seen the sun yet. That's what it feels like to me. So that means that actually down there will be just, I'm going to put a tiniest bit of a very watered down cobalt blue, just a hint, barely there. And I'm going to rinse out my brush, and then I'm going to go in, and it's a fairly reddish orange then. And get that up here. And I'm going to take some of my color off, make it a little lighter and maybe a little bit more yellow here. And go down here. And now I'm going to rinse my brush out. And I'm just going to drag that color down here. Like that. Can go a little bit more orange here. And then it is that almost whitish color. There. Like that. There we go. That's good enough for now. And you know, with watercolor, we can always lighten. We can always darken things. It's better to keep it lighter. And now this one has dried. So this one we painted first has dried. So now we can paint that one that is behind it. So let's do that. And surprise, surprise, same system as before. We are going to just get a little bit of water inside. I'm using my number 8 brush for this, but whatever brush you have does not matter. Best thing is to use as big a brush as you can and still get the job done. You've heard me say that before. And I'm also noticing that it's got to be careful that it doesn't, because this one's still a little damp. So hopefully it won't bleed. All right, so let's go in, grab another little bit of that orange that we mix from these 3 colors. And it's actually a little bit lighter out there on the tip, I noticed. So put a little bit more of the yellow in. And then it goes behind there. And it's actually tiny bit more yellow than that in front, it looks like. And then like that. And I'm going to rinse out my brush a little bit, and I'm going to drag it out like this. And then I'm going to drag it in here so it's a little bit lighter there also. And now I'm going to dip into of the redder orange puddle, and I think I want to just warm it up a little bit here on this side. Just like that. And hopefully I didn't create a bloom by doing that. Okay, I think we're good. I really like how my green dried there. It looks good. And then we have this big one. And let's see, I can see if I can get rid of, this is dry, if I can get rid of that pencil line in here, I would like to. You know how I have it, this thing with pencil lines that I'm not so crazy about. There, and that's just my own little hiccup, you know that. So I'm going to paint now this big one that goes across that one we painted. And same procedure. Going to use my number 8. And this also has a little bit of that lighter color down here. So we want to keep that in mind. And then it kind of goes off the page here. And again, I leave a little space out to the pencil lines. Don't know if you can see it. And I'm going to stick with this bigger brush so I don't start fiddling around too much. So let's get some nice orange. Some more of that new Gamboge in. And maybe I want to put a little bit of more of that yellow in right there so there's a little distinction. And then goes up like this. And I want to have it a little warmer in here. So I dipped into a little bit of that red. And now I'm rinsing out a little bit more yellow. And just like this. And now I want to rinse out my brush, dab it on my towel, and I'm going to pull it down. Need a little bit more here. Pull it down and on. And not too wet. And just get that to mingle a little bit here before it dries. There. There we have that. Now we have one more orange. We have several more oranges over there. They're a little kind of convoluted back in this area, back here. So we'll just get all the orange on that way. It's going to be much simpler for us to paint it. So the first one is this one here. So let's get a little bit of water on this, and it continues up there. And it's very, very light right up here because it's hit by the light. Goes like that. And then it goes like this. And now we're going to get a little bit more orange on. There. Okay. And then down here, a bit more water. And now it gets darker. So a little bit more of the red down here. And let's get in and there. And I just want to make sure my lines are the way you want them. And stab out here a little bit. There. There. And just with a fix this little corner. There. And there we have it. I think this is pretty good. And a little bit more of that orangey there. All right. I think that worked out okay. And you know, this is just the first layer. We can go in afterwards and do some glazing and darkening. And if we need to lift out a few places, we can do that too. So we have one more orange here that goes like that behind there. So let's get that on. I think we can do it without, because this is already dry up there where it touches, and I'll be a little careful with the water. So I'm painting. So we just painted this one, and now we're painting this one. Elaine, hi Elaine, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Fun, fun, fun. All right, so a little water on here. Oops, that was too much. When it bubbles up, that's too much because then we can't control it. And then it goes down here. Like that. And let's go in and get a nice orange here. And again, it's a little darker here. As it goes up there. And now I want to pull it out a little bit, maybe make it a little bit more yellow orange. And it goes behind that little petal there. And then it goes up here. Like that. Like that. Yeah. And it's a little darker down here, so I can still darken that while I'm at it. Like that. I think that's pretty good. Okay. So that was that. And then we have this one that goes over. And I think we can let that wait for just a minute because I think it's too early to do that one yet. So what else can we do? We can get this green, and it ends in like a burnt sienna color. This one, so this big one. That's, you know, actually I think the one, like the cover leaf that folds around all these petals before it opens up. I think this is how it is. I did have birds of paradise in pots when I lived in Carmel Valley in California, but that's many years ago now, and I don't think it's possible to have them even in pots in Truckee where I live now. I think there's too much. It's too cold at night. All right, so we'll just put water on and we'll do the best we can. And again, I don't go all the way out to the lines, and I leave this. There's an area here that has a big highlight. So we have to remember that. And then here is burnt sienna on it. And down at the beginning, it's, you know, a little bit of a paler, greenish, yellowish. So I'm starting again with some of my cobalt blue to kind of gray things down. So let that go like that. And I'm going to take a tiny, tiny bit of that green gold on. Let's see, it's a very strong color and that was way too much, but I can luckily lift it out. And then it's actually a little bit more reddish grayish on the top part. So I dipped into a little bit of the red. And then it starts being a bluish green. So I took some more of that cobalt blue, and now I'm going to rinse that out, and I'm going to put a little bit of my transparent yellow, and I'm flipping it around. And a little bit more of the cobalt blue here. And run it out like that. And before this dries on me, I want to have a very, very smooth transition. So with a clean brush, clean and damp brush, I'm just dragging this in like this so that it all kind of flows together. And I just have those very subtle color variations. I think that looks pretty okay. A little bit more bluish here, so it's not so green. And just smudge it around. And then here, I think it's already drying on me. So now I'm going to put some of my French ultramarine blue in with a little bit of that green gold to get more of that bluish green. Pull that out like to there. And right away, and it's a lot greener right here. Right here. And then it changes to that. You know, it's I don't know, wilting or whatever. And it's also very dark right up here. So I'm trying to get all this in as we go. A little bit like that. And again, with a damp brush, don't have your brush dripping wet. It's going to run away from you then. And let's go in and do darker. There's a little bit of drama here. And it's bluer, so I'm going to put a little bit of the cobalt blue on here too. That gives that nice color that it has like that. I see that color there. And again, keep that brush just damp, not wet. That's key. So like that. And then I can lift out a little bit of that greenish highlight. And now I need to go in with a smaller brush. I think I'm going to go in with my little detail brush, and I'm going to get some of that burnt sienna on my brush here. And before it dries, hopefully, I'm going to be able to put a little bit of that burnt sienna on here where I see it, like that. And it actually also goes down here and it becomes really, really dark. And a little bit dark here. So I'm just dabbing this in here and there. And it's darker underneath. And then it has like burnt sienna slash kind of here, a little bit here. So I'm just going to put that in now, like that. There. And then here is also, there's a highlight where it's just barely, a little bit of greenish. So again, I'm just going with my little brush here. Little highlight like that. And then there's some of that orangey color also. So let's try and see if we can get that in. So I'm taking a little bit of my orange from over here, and I'm using a little bit of my burnt sienna to kind of tone it down, because it's not a bright orange. It's kind of in here. There's a little bit of that going on. And you know, this is not a botanical rendering, so we do the best we can, right? And while I still had a little bit of that on, I'm going to go in with very dry paint, because there's a real shadow, like here, underneath there, that's kind of a grayed down green. So a little bit of the burnt sienna on is perfect. And then there's a little bit more of cobalt blue, and this brush is way too small for this little thing. See if I can get it in here without having things run. There, I think that's pretty okay. I'm gonna hold it up. There we go. So that was fun. It's a little too pale in there, but that's something we can easily deal with. I think the next thing we should do is we should finish off painting the orange petals we have up here now that everything's dry, and now I can gently erase the lines and hopefully still see what I'm doing. That's the hope. So there's couple more actually, orange, oops, get that drop off, orange petals. What I'm doing is I'm painting this petal, and then there's a little one behind here. Those two are orange. So I'm going to do one at a time. So this petal that is kind of going over and then down here. And it's not as bright an orange as the other oranges, because it's a little bit in the shadow. So I'm actually going over here and dulling down that orange with a tiny bit of the burnt sienna to just not have it too bright. It goes over here. Like that. And I want to darken it down even a little bit more here with a little bit more of the burnt sienna. And it's very, very dark right in that part of it, because of, you know, it's flipping over, so to speak, right there. And I'm gonna try and lift out a little bit there. Okay. I'm gonna try and see if I can hold it so you can see. So far, so good, I think. Let's see here. So here we have some testing going on. It's more red right there. There's kind of like red, more reddish. And it goes up here and it becomes more like burnt sienna colored. So let's get a little bit of orangey red in here. And it goes more like that. And then it becomes a lot paler and a little toned down. So I think I'm going to put a little bit of cobalt on, like right there. It goes up like this. There. And just soften that edge a little bit. And there's some kind of funky, weird, orangey stuff. See if I can put that in now. I don't know. Also, a little bit toned down. So I'm just going to go in and do a little bit like that. Like that. And just smudge it out a little bit. There. And then once it's dry, we can go in and put the real darks on the, there's some real dark there. We have one more tiny little, oops, put that down here, tiny little orange petal. That's this one. We can just barely see it. It's behind there. So I think we can get that on now. Like there. And that's also not very bright at all. It's more like, actually it's more like almost burnt sienna colored. Brighten it up a little bit, but not much. And it goes kind of like here. Like that. It's behind there. And put a little bit of red in it. There. Darken it a little bit. There. And again, there's some dark in between there, but we'll get to that later. So I think it's looking pretty good. There we have it. And then we have this fun thing. This that's sticking out there, and that is a bluish purple, and then it's almost down to white at the tip. So I'm going to just dab out my pencil line here. So I don't want that to show. And then now we get to change our color a little bit. And we're going to use some of our French ultramarine blue and put just a hint of that permanent magenta in to make it a little bit more purple, but still very blue purple, but a little bit more purple than just the French ultramarine blue. And since it's such a small little area, I actually think I'll just go in and do it wet on dry. You could wet it first if you want to, but I think I'm going to risk it. Do it like this. And then pull that out. So I'm just going to pull it, rinsed out my brush, and then I'm just pulling it out so that you can just barely see it there. And there is a super duper, just fix the shape a little bit. It goes in here a little bit more. there is a very, very, very dark line, like a rib in the middle. And so I think I'm going to go in with my little tiny brush, and I'm going to mix myself a really dark purple. So lots of pigment and very little water. And roll my brush in that. And I'm going to go in and put that in. And it goes up to like there. And then it's like it has some little ribs like on the side here. So I'm going to put a few of those in. Don't, overdo it. And I'm going to rinse it out a little bit. And I'm going to see if I can smudge a little bit just so it's not so straight. There. I think that's pretty good. Okay. So that's that dark area. And then over here, we also have a bunch of dark areas. Here. In here, there are also some similar things, I think, like those that are sticking up. And they're not as purple. They're more just like dark. So this one in particular. And I'm actually thinking I am going to probably do it a little bit more purple than what it looks like in the photo, just because I think that's a good contrast to all that orange. So I'm putting a little bit of water in this one here. And then I'm going to take and make a purple here from the French Ultramarine blue again, and the permanent magenta. And just getting that in before it dries on me, hopefully. And there we have it. This brush I have here, number 6, it does not have a very good tip. I miss a brush with a little bit of a better tip, but that's okay. And then I can see that there's like darks. It's not like even like that. It's almost like it's stripy. And so I'm taking some of the very, very concentrated permanent, burnt sienna, and I'm going to put in some of that. To have some of those little things going across. And I am going in with a little bit more of the purple because I feel I need to fix some of my lines here before. There, that's better. And then I can go in and do some more other little things there. And then there is up here, let's take some more of that burnt sienna. There's a couple of more little, like, as if it's wilting or something. Up there. There's a real dark here. And it's super dark. So I'm going to go into the permanent magenta and a little bit of the Good, Sienna. And here is also some dark little markings like that. Really dark. And then in here, this goes across like that. And let's go in and get that in like that. And then it pulls down. Just so we get a little shape on those little areas. Hi, Anne. How are you? So I like that. Pretty okay with that. Let's see. I think I want to do just a little bit of a directional on this one here. So it's clearer that it kind of is folding over like that. I think we need to even darken here a little bit more. Like that. Pull it down. Like that. And there's some more little directional strokes we could do while we're messing around in here. Just a little color variant, so I'm just dipping into a little bit of a darker orange that I'm creating from over here from my puddles of red and yellow. Oops, red and yellows. Like that. So I just want to and here I think this one should be a little darker also underneath here. There. And just pull that down like that. Just to get a little bit more pizzazz. And the same here. Need a little pizzazz on that one. Maybe a little bit more red. Just so there's a little color variance. There. There's that. Okay, so now I'm not going to be fiddling around with that too much longer. And I think that area makes fairly good sense now. Now we have this in here, and that is this. There is some, again, I think it's probably, I don't know if it's stamens or something like that. Could very well be. But they're also purpley. So let's see. So there's this part here. And again, I think I want to go in and see if I can take some of the pencil lines away. There. This part that goes up is a very light purple. So let's just get that in first. It's kind of a grayish purple. So I think I'm good with this little dirtied up French ultramarine blue with this color. So kind of a gray down light purple. Like that. I like that. That goes fine. Again, I'm missing a good tip, but I think this works. Okay. And I actually think that's a really good color now that I look at it. I think Let's get a little bit more water on, and I could do a little glaze with this color right here, because it still is not quite the way I wanted it. And then it's a little bit redder here. Rinse it out. There, like that better. There we have that. And then while I wait for this one to be completely dry, I also remember that in here is a very dark, and it's kind of like a reddish dark. So I think I take some of my permanent magenta into this burnt sienna. That could be the right color, because there's like this. And maybe even darker here. There's like a little bit real dark in there. This is just nitty gritty, and you know, if you don't really want to mess with that, you certainly don't have to. And then I'm gonna just, it's redder here, like that. A little bit of that dark goes right here, and then rinse that out. And then this is gonna just, you know, softening this edge so that it goes into that. Yeah, yeah, it's better. Better. And there's also, so that's where all that purple comes in. It's definitely also a lot darker right there. Right here is almost black. Goes up like that. A little uneven. And then I'm just going to pull it down. Just a little bit like that. I'm going to show you. This is, again, nitty-gritty little stuff. You don't have to do it. So, let's see. Maybe I'll try and go with this little dagger brush. It has a much better point. I wanted to go in and do this one. So here, this is also a purpley color, but it's more reddish purplish, so more of that permanent magenta. Even a little bit. This muddy color I made over here might be good. There, I think. Maybe a little bit more blue in. There, I think that's good. So then there's, and I'm doing it wet on dry, goes down like this. Water in it. Down like that. And then it goes kind of like this. So a little thing like that going in. And let's just dab in something a little darker right there. And really darken it there. And then there's another one. I have a little bit of a different color on this one. Like that. And there. And then there's a couple of lines that goes like this. There. Just fine tune the lines. And then here I want to have them less pronounced. Dab a little bit. There. And then we're going to need one very, very dark purple or some French ultramarine blue from over there. Maybe go in here. There. So this one goes even darker. And then like that. I think that's pretty okay. And these here, almost like they meet. And then we need to soften. Like this. There we go. And then we do need to darken a little bit more here. There's that highlight. Little sliver of a highlight. And then super dark there. And then we need to soften it. Hi, Vicky. Good morning. Thank you, Vicky. So for all of you, I don't know if some of you are painting along or not, but if you are, great. And if you're not, this live stream will be available, to watch afterwards. So you can watch it again. And I will, in the notes that you can put underneath on YouTube, I'm going to put in the colors that I used. And I'm also going to have the link so that you can find the reference, the drawing. I can also put in, I think, a file so that you can find the photo if you're getting my newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, you can subscribe to my newsletter on my website. I send out a newsletter probably about once a month. And I try to give you notice if I'm putting on a live stream. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how to work this new situation. And, at some point, I'll be back in my own studio and I'll have better lighting and stuff like that. But, we've got to do what we can under the circumstances and just roll with the punches. That's my attitude. So I put in a little bit of cobalt blue on my brush here. And I'm just trying to work a little bit with the color here underneath. Thought it was a little too light. So there. But quite honestly, I think we're getting pretty close to just putting in a few little details. So let's put in a little bit more dimension on the petals. So we're going to use our different orange colors here. And I'm going to wet this petal a little bit, just a little bit of clean water, just so I don't get like too hard lines and stuff. And then I'm going to go in and put a little bit more dimension on the petals so they're not so, one note. And the same here. Here I'm going to do it on dry. And then I can soften the edges. That's, two different ways of doing it. And just drag this down a little bit so it's not quite so light. And then here, put a little bit more dimension on here. Soften the edge on this side. Make it even a little bit darker right here. Like that. A little bit darker underneath here could be good. Just, do what you feel like. Have fun with it. And here, this is actually more like that. And again, let's soften the edge on this side. A little bit more pizzazz on. A little bit there. Make sure you clean your brush when you are softening the edges so that you don't just transfer pigment where you don't want it. There we go. And then here. And even more red here. Just like that. And I want to soften on the other side too, so it's not too harsh. There we go. And then it just kind of here. And maybe a little bit up there. There. Awesome. There we go. And I'm going to go in and do a little like this. There's this weirdy stuff going on there. In there. And then I think I want to just kick this one up a notch like that. Okay. How are we doing? I think we're doing okay. And then I just want to maybe just like that. And again, loose the edge. Yeah. And I think I'm getting ready to call this one complete. And then once it's all dry, if you wanted to, you could totally put in a green background, mottled green background if you want. And I have a YouTube video coming up where I'm painting daffodils in three different ways. And on one of them, I have demoed how to paint in a darker background. So you can watch that one. It probably will be live this weekend. So thank you for coming. Sorry. And hope you'll try this out. Sorry, got a tickle. And you can tag me on Facebook or on Instagram so I can see what you are what you're creating. And I hope you had fun. And I'll do this again. So I will be checking out. And I'm just going to flip the camera around so I can say a nice goodbye to you. So here we are. Hey. So I hope you'll try this little bird of paradise out. And I will see you in another YouTube video and wish you a lovely day and see you soon. Bye.